let's dive right into this explainer. And look, I gotta be honest with you up front, this one is intensely personal for me. I'm not just your host today, I'm actually talking to you as a survivor. I want you to just imagine for a second, standing in the absolute wreckage of Londerea, with the black ash literally settling onto your shoulders. I had just narrowly escaped the Jester's Theater, right? Just gasping for air out in the freezing void. So today, we're going to map out exactly what I encountered out there in the dark, so you can truly understand the architecture of the entity that is waiting for all of us, the Cosmic Weaver.
I thought the Violet Frost would kill me. Then I met the monster in the mirror. You know, when Londerea finally fell, every single one of us was dead certain that the Obsidian Doctor's Violet Frost was gonna be the end. It was sweeping through the ruins, just ruthlessly pruning the old world. I fled into that bitter, freezing cold, completely believing the elements would take me. But the true terror of surviving the freezing void wasn't the cold at all. It was the sudden, horrifying realization that survival meant coming face to face with the Cosmic Weaver, this silent, truth-telling monster that acts as the shadow of the honest guest.
So let's start with Act I, the Theater of Lies.
Back in Londerea, the Architect and the Jester, they controlled everyone through pure distraction. The Jester spun this masterful web of false intimacy. And think about what that actually means for a second. Our messy, painful, real lives were completely sanitized and just turned into theater. Under the King's order, every single identity we wore, our beliefs, our alliances, our closest friendships, they were all treated as disposable political assets. We literally hollered out our own ideals just to survive the regime's daily purges. We weren't people anymore. We were actors just playing roles to dodge the executioner.
Now contrast the Jester's world with the Weaver's sanctuary. It's night and day. We left behind a hollow life built on artifice, shadows, and disposable masks. But out in the void, the Weaver offers something completely different. Instead of disposable assets, the Weaver demands heavy, permanent anchors. Instead of false intimacy, it builds a network of absolute truths. And honestly, this is what shocked me the most out there. The Weaver isn't trying to destroy us. Its goal is preservation. But, and this is a huge but, it builds this sanctuary exclusively from raw, painful honesty. It's a terrifying, unbending permanence compared to the comfortable little lies we were so used to telling.
Moving on to Act II, the Monster in the Void.
As I was wandering into the gaps of the Great Silence, just shivering and completely lost, I finally encountered it, the Cosmic Weaver. And it was holding this tool that defies all logic, the Compass of Cold Starlight. Now, what's absolutely terrifying about this thing is that this compass never ever points north. As the Weaver approached me, I realized the needle spins toward the exact center of a soul's hidden rot. It literally measures the dark, cavernous distance between the public mask you wear and your true, private hunger.
The visceral horror of that realization, man, it hit me all at once. Every lie I'd ever told to bypass the King's authority, every fake pledge I made just to keep my head attached to my neck, they hadn't just vanished into the air. Actually, they had left a physical, shimmering, sticky thread right behind me. I turned around in the empty void, and I could see them. Just a glowing, undeniable trail of my own deceit leading directly back to me. All my desperate political lies had basically just laid out a neon map for the Weaver to follow.
Which brings us to Act III, the Silent Dialogue. So the Weaver doesn't speak, it just watches you. And I was so terrified I fell back on literally the only survival mechanism I knew from Londerea. I looked right at it and whispered into the freezing air, "I told no lies to the King." I actually tried to use one last piece of pathetic, rehearsed political theater to protect myself out there in the cosmic void. I clung to my disposable mask, just desperately hoping my learned deception would work one more time against this towering silent entity.
But the Weaver didn't argue. It didn't yell or call me a liar. The compass of cold starlight just spun wildly for a second and then locked dead onto the exact center of my chest. That was our dialogue. The Weaver used its cosmic tools to completely bypass my empty words and expose the internal human rot I was carrying around. My lie was instantly laid bare. I gotta tell you, it was the most vulnerable I've ever felt in my entire existence.
Let's look at Act IV, Forging the Sanctuary.
See, the Weaver operates with this geometric precision that totally rivals the Obsidian Doctor's Starfinder. But while the Doctor's Violet Frost withers and prunes away life, the Weaver preserves it. It does this in 3 distinct steps. First, it traps those discarded identities and stolen intimacies we left behind in the Jester's wake.
Then it sweeps up the black ash of our fallen civilization from the ruins of the old world. And finally, it binds that black ash together with silver cosmic webs to build a brand new, resilient architecture of memory. It takes our discarded, hollowed-out ideals and literally turns them into structural fuel for a sanctuary.
So the crucial takeaway here is that absolutely nothing goes to waste in the void. Remember when the jester used the rune of the Holy Fool to mock the crown back in Londaria? At the time, it was just temporary political theater, a distraction. But out here, the Weaver captures the very echoes of that distorted laughter and repurposes it as actual physical substance to strengthen its cosmic barrier. The Weaver acts as the ultimate counterweight to the old world, finding the real substance hidden entirely beneath the jester's shadows.
And finally, Act 5, the final choice. The Weaver's Web is literally the only bridge that spans the freezing void of the Great Clock, but to step onto it, you have to agree to its terms. You have to completely abandon the disposable nature of the old world. Your identities can no longer be little assets you trade for survival. They become heavy, permanent anchors. You have to accept the crushing weight of a singular, unvarnished existence. Because a true sanctuary simply cannot be built on artifice. It strictly demands that we confront the raw, painful honesty of the monster within ourselves.
And that brings me to the most profound realization of my entire escape. The Weaver sits at the heart of its creation, just watching us. And its relentless tracking, that compass pointing directly at your hidden rot, it only stops spinning when a guest finally stops running from the monster in the mirror. You have to completely surrender your public mask and willingly offer up your exposed truths to the web. That is literally the only way to find your footing in the dark. Which leaves us with the ultimate, unsettling question that the Cosmic Weaver poses to every single survivor wandering into the Violet Frost. I had to answer it, and now so do you. Do you prefer the disposable, fleeting comfort of a lie, even as the world burns around you? Or do you choose the heavy, unvarnished safety of a cage made entirely of truth? The architecture of memory is waiting out there in the void. What will your anchor be?